best friends who are ill-equipped to do much of anything, let alone function computers, apparently, tell you about history. And I'm Emileigh. And I remember to introduce myself today. And this is Morgan.
I've just been nodding along silently. Yeah. Like, yes, this is all true. Very correct.
Yes. I agree. Are we on the struggle bus today as a unit, or is it just me?
I am on the struggle bus. Today, after therapy, I ended up taking a 2-hour nap, and I was like, I woke up, I was like, oh my God, I have to finish the podcast.
No, the pod.
But I literally could not stay awake. Like, I think my therapy session was a little bit more emotionally exhausting than I was expecting. And I sat down on the couch and I was like, maybe I'll just like nap for a little while. And I have this whole setup where like I'm sitting on my electric blanket and then I have a blanket over me. So then I'm like my back gets like the warmth because my back always hurts. And like, I don't know. I always feel like it feels good when like your butt gets like warm too, like on heated seats and stuff. So I was just I cozied up and I put on like a long YouTube video and I just fell asleep when I woke up. And I was like, what year is it? Oh my God, what do I have to do? So I'm still a little out of it.
Oh, I'm so happy for you on that. I went and got groceries, and in the process, I'm going out of town this weekend, and because my love language is baked goods, I was like, I want to make scones, but I want to make scones that I like a new recipe. I don't want fruit for some reason. I was really feeling an almond scone. Okay.
Lovely. I love those.
Oh my God, they're so good. Tell me why I had to go to 3 different stores to find almond paste. 3. And
that's annoying.
Could I have made almond paste at home in probably 10 minutes? Sure. But I was already committed. I had to go all the way to Publix, the bougie store. It was ridiculous.
Good old Walmart didn't have it.
No. And Aldi didn't either, even though their website said they did. So, damn you, Aldi. No, I don't damn Aldi. I love Aldi.
We're Aldi stands in this house.
Mm-hmm. We stand behind Aldi. And I went to like 5 different places today, which is 4 too many for me.
Yes.
So I got home and then immediately my poor kids, they got off the bus and I was like, get back in the Jeep because my son had an orthodontist appointment 20 minutes after they got off the bus.
Wait, he has an orthodontist appointment? Are they thinking about braces?
As of right now, he's just going to get a spacer.
Okay.
Because his teeth are coming in wonky and it's to hold his teeth apart so his adult teeth can come in. Mm-hmm. But Nick and I both had jacked up teeth. So I told him today, I'm like, guys, I need you to just mentally prepare. You're both probably going to need braces. Okay? Just go ahead, get it in your noggin. Get accustomed. Get used to it. Because they're coming. Because your girl, we had some wonky teeth in this mouth. I had 3 sets of braces, a Herbst appliance, and headgear.
I missed you having headgear. We hadn't really become friends yet, I think, when you still had headgear. We both had braces, but
unfortunately, it was the same year that I was in a car accident and was in a cast for a year. So I was in a wheelchair in a cast with headgear. It was not a good year.
You're the cutest kid ever.
And that's how, thank God I only had to wear the headgear at night. But if you were at my house at like 8 p.m., I looked ridiculous. But
that's how you knew you had the real ones.
And I wore a Jeep bucket hat everywhere. And that's how my mother-in-law met me.
That sounds weird.
I know, because I was 4th grade. Guys, I married my best friend's cousin. So, like, I was just Corey's friend at that point.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But, yeah, that was a rough year for good old Emileigh. 10-year-old Emileigh.
Oh, bless your heart.
Oh, anyway, This is probably the most laughter we're going to get out of this episode. I'm so sorry,
Yeah, Emileigh has come in with the bummer. Oh my God. Like,
Listen.
she told me what we were talking about today, and I immediately got nauseous, you guys.
I have an explanation. I was watching a little documentary about a sunken Nazi U-boat the other day, and I got to thinking, what happened to all the Nazis after the war? Like, I knew there was a trial. I hadn't really looked too far into it. Documentaries are more exciting, apparently, when they're of the war, not post-war. But, so I hadn't really watched anything about it. And I was thinking more along the lines of, like, the taking of German scientists and bringing them over to the United States and, like, making them build us rockets, and also like them escaping to Argentina. And, you know, we're gonna have a few touchstones here and there. Those are totally different episodes. Like,
yeah,
we can't, those are complete, like, oh my God. Operation Paperclip sounds really cool. And we'll do it eventually. But I was like, everything that preceded those events, other than the ones that escaped, they were actively escaping, came after the trials. And I would be remiss if I was like, well, I need to do the trials, and then we talk about things that happen afterwards later. So then I'm diving into the most important trial of any lifetime ever, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I mean, unprecedented. Yeah. Stressy stress.
Stressy stress.
Stressy stress. So, I was able to cobble together a skit that I cobbled together a skit, guys.
Right.
So, let's get into it. It's 1946. Two reporters are sitting in a courtroom in Nuremberg during the International Military Tribunal, which would be the start of what is now known as the Nuremberg Trials. They are listening to the statements being made by the Nazis and discussing their feelings on this whole matter.
I can't believe this. They don't seem even remotely remorseful.
Right? How can they think that mass extermination is justifiable?
Look, Adolf Eichmann is coming up. Hopefully he shows a little bit of regret.
Wasn't he one of the worst ones? I wouldn't hold your breath.
I would like to be able to say that I was sorry, that I deeply regret my actions, and that I recognize the harm that I have caused. But I cannot do that. I cannot ask for forgiveness because I do not believe that what I did was wrong.
Well, I guess that answers it, doesn't it?
Well, hell. My mouth feels dirty.
I know. I'm so sorry I made you say that. I just did it because it was like the longest thing, but she's like gargling tea in her mouth to get those words out.
Thankfully, it's ginger tea, so it's very strong.
Oh, guys, I'm so sorry. So I
literally gasped when she said we're talking about the Nuremberg Trials. I went because I'm fascinated and horrified at the same time, and I can't wait to learn more.
I had no idea how revolutionary this would be. I had no idea. My God. So, I would like to say this is going to be an overview. Are we going to get into specific people? No, we're going to say, just for the sake of time, because we would be here for 48 hours, I'm pretty sure. Because there are 13 total trials. We are going to talk about all 13, but we're going to talk about them in kind of broad strokes of there were X amount of defendants. This is what this trial was about, and this was the verdicts of those trials, things of that nature. We'll get into more details on the first one, and then an overview and a little bit of the aftermath, just to give you an idea of the shit sandwich that was Nazi Germany. Oh my God. Oh my God. And some of it I'm like, I don't even want to read about this. I saw enough. My poor daughter saw a dead guy on the documentary I was watching, and I didn't realize. She was like, why is his mouth open? Like, why is he laying like that? I'm like, he's sleeping.
Oh gosh. Ugh.
She said, good. I thought he was dead. I'm like, ah. God.
She's too young to learn about the Holocaust.
No, I turned it around. I was like, I didn't realize you could see that. Anyway, so let's start with a very brief overview of the war itself. So on September 1st of 1939, Nazi Germany started the war by invading Poland.
Yes.
And if you want to know more about the Hitlers going on, we do have a whole other episode called The Hallucinazis, mostly about their drug use, but it gives I do remember it giving a very good timeline of their whereabouts.
Right.
So, by early 1942, Nazi Germany stood at the height of its power, and it controlled, Germany and its allies, of course, controlled most of Europe and even parts of North Africa at this time. And also at this time, the Holocaust was out of the bag. People were starting to figure it out, which is crazy. It took half of the war to figure it out.
Yeah.
So, after finding out of these atrocities, it wasn't the war itself that pissed off everyone, because we had all been through wars before. You know, all the countries, that's not new. The Holocaust was new.
Right.
And obviously the Allies were like, what the fuck? And on December 17th of 1942, so 3 years before the end of the war, the Allied nations issued a declaration stating that German authorities were engaging in mass murder. So they told everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that those responsible for this quote, bestial policy of cold-blooded extermination would not escape retribution. So we're seeing very early on that they're like, we're going to do something about it, but we don't know yet. We're still in the middle of a war.
Mm-hmm.
So the following October, on the 30th of 1943, President Franklin D. Roosevelt and the British Prime Minister Winston Churchill and Soviet Premier Joseph Stalin himself signed the Declaration of Atrocities. And this stated that, quote, the United Kingdom, the United States, and the Soviet Union have received from many quarters evidence of atrocities, massacres, and cold-blooded mass executions which are being perpetrated by Hitlerite forces in many of the countries they have overrun. Those German officers and men and members of the Nazi Party who have been responsible for or have taken a consenting part in the above atrocities, massacres, and executions will be sent back to the countries in which their abominable deeds are done, in order that they may be judged and punished according to the laws that these liberated countries and of free governments which will be erected therein.
Okay.
So, cliff notes. Too long, didn't read. If they stated that the perpetrators would be sent back to the country that they did the crime in.
Right.
But further on in this, which I can't read the whole thing, major war criminals who you cannot pinpoint a certain location where they were kind of all over doing fuckery everywhere.
Right.
would be punished by joint decision of the Allied governments.
Okay.
So we're seeing in 1943, they're like, okay, we as a group, as an Allied group, will punish those people.
So like generals and whatnot in France that were like committing crimes in France would be tried in France according to French law. But then like the higher ups of the Third Reich whose fingers were in everything across multiple countries would be tried at more of like a world government type situation.
Exactly. There had been nothing put in place yet legally to define what exactly that is, but this is a signed declaration stating that we will do that when the time comes.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward to about a year and a half later, April 30th, we all know, 1945, Hitler commits suicide. Mm-hmm. We will not be getting into the conspiracies about that. That is, for the sake of this episode, that is a fact. My husband brought it up earlier, and that's all I can think about now. Reminded me. And it wouldn't be until September the 2nd, which is funny, it was like 6 years and a day that the war started.
Right.
That Japan surrenders, effectively ending World War II. So, during this time, after Hitler committed suicide, even before Japan surrenders, the Allies wasted no time in hunting down these officials and higher ups within the Nazi Party, which you think of the Nazi Party, you think Hitler, and then it kind of trickles down. It's way more broad than you think it is. It's holy crap. There's so many different facets that I didn't even recognize.
Yeah.
So some did, like we mentioned earlier, evade capture. And then were just kind of altogether never tried because they were never found. Or they committed suicide, like Hitler and Himmler both committed suicide before they could be captured. And a couple other higher ups did as well. So the others escaped on what is called the rat lines, and they were systems and routes used by the Nazis to get to mostly South America, like Argentina, specifically Argentina, but also Brazil, Chile, and Paraguay. Again, that's a whole other episode, so that's all I got to say about that. Now, the crime of genocide as a worldwide, war crime didn't exist yet. That was not a thing. Like a war crimes are obviously defined as shooting prisoners of war for no reason, leaving them out in unprotected areas, not giving them shelter. There were rules to follow when you go into war.
Was it rules of engagement and
something like that? Yeah.
There's just expectations.
Yeah.
During the war, there's certain rules that you follow in general. Because, even, just thinking of in the past, I know there had been attempts at, biological warfare. That's kind of how the plague started in the 1300s.
Right.
And you have chemical warfare starting to show up in the World War I. And, people always trying to be on the cutting edge of warfare with new technology. But it didn't seem to be atrocities up to this point in my very limited worldview of war.
Well, one guy, for just an example, they made one of these trials made kind of a big deal about prisoners of war and how they would just shoot them just because they were the enemy, when if you got a prisoner of war trying to escape, typically you shoot a warning shot first to get them to stop and give them a chance. But the Nazis didn't do that. They just shot you. So it's, even down to little things like that. And again, the Holocaust it feels separate from the war.
Yeah.
Almost. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so what do? We've said we're going to do something, but what is it we do? So when they found every person they found, they put in an internment camp, obviously treated way better than they treated everyone else. The Allies were having a really hard time deciding what to do. And places like the Soviet Union were like, and also the United Kingdom was mentioned being more on the side of just kill them all. Just kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they've done so much bad.
Yeah.
There's nothing redeemable. Just.
Well, the Soviet Union had its own bone to pick with Germany, because Germany tried to invade the Soviet Union. And
they did kill a lot of communist soldiers as well. Yeah. Very unjustly in the terms of war.
Right.
Like we were talking about earlier.
Oh, it was a slaughterhouse. It was really bad.
Yeah. So the United States was like, no, we shouldn't do that. And then Joseph Stalin, actually, from what one documentary said, was the one that was like, fine, we could put him on trial. And that seemed to be what everyone agreed on, was let's just hold a trial for them. So, in the words of U.S. Secretary of State Cordell Hull, quote, a condemnation after such a proceeding will meet the judgment of history so that the Germans will not be able to claim that the admission of war guilt was extracted from them under duress.
We gotta do everything by the book. Can't have any kind of coerced admissions.
Right. Everything by the book. Seems like a very American thing. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so on August the 8th of 1945, notice, still a month before Japan surrenders.
Right.
The French Republic, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, the USSR. I can never remember what that stands for. The United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and the United States of America signed the London Agreement and Charter, also known as the Nuremberg Charter. And this charter created the International Military Tribunal, or the IMT. So if you hear me say IMT, it's International Military Tribunal, to try these leaders. And this charter set the ground rules and functions of the IMT to define the crimes that it would go forth and try, including but not limited to what I'm about to list. So, included in these guidelines, I'll define the crimes in just a second, but included in the charter is each of the major Allied powers, so France, Great Britain, Soviet Union, and the United States, would assign one judge and one alternate judge to the IMT. All decisions required a majority vote by all four judges who heard the case. So I guess 3 out of 4 would have to vote.
Okay.
The charter instructed the IMT to conduct a fair trial and grant defendants certain due process rights. So they could be represented in court by legal counsel, cross-examine witnesses, and present evidence and witnesses in their own defense. And they also could choose their own lawyers. So if they wanted to get a staunch Nazi lawyer, they could do that. That was within their rights.
You're right. This does sound very similar to how, like, I'm not familiar with how other countries handle the justice system, but it sounds like a very American system, like the right to choose your own counsel, the right, like all this due process, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very American judicial system coded, which was good for my brain because that's about the only one I familiar with.
Yeah.
So the charter also, this is very important, specified that the defendants could not escape responsibility for their crimes just by claiming that they had been following orders.
Right.
Huge.
Yes. I took a social psychology class in college, and a lot of the experiments that we had talked about were actually experiments stemming from these trials, because they were trying to study human behavior and what could cause people to do what, like follow orders blindly, like a lot of people did in Nazi Germany. And I think like the argument can be made for like people on the bottom, like civilians and like maybe the lowest ranked soldiers. But when you start getting higher and higher up, like it's choices, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a lot of experiments were done to see how far like obedience could go. And like you think of there is like, I think it's Stanley Milgram's obedience experiment, where people, I think I mentioned it when I talked about the Stanford experiment, but people were tasked, like they were given a task, and part of it involved what they believed was shocking another person and causing them pain. They weren't actually hurting anybody, but if they would ask questions, the person on the other side of this barrier would provide a wrong answer, and if they provided a wrong answer, they would get an electric shock. And when the participant started getting uncomfortable, they would often like go to the examiner and look and say, hey, what do I do? Because clearly they didn't want to hurt the other person.
Right.
And the examiner would just, in the lab coat and the clipboard and the glasses would say, please continue. And then they would go back and they would do it again. And they're clearly getting distressed. But I think it was like 60% of participants made it to the end where after a certain point, the person on the other end stopped responding.
Oh, shit. 80%?
60.
God, I thought you said 80 for a second. Oh, my God. But still, that's a lot.
It is a lot. So, and it was more of like, it wasn't as much like a study on a person's will, but it was more of like the impact that authority has on another person.
Right.
Because you have the doctor or the researcher and the lab coat and the clipboard and just please continue. Yeah. Like no room for argument, no room for providing an alternative, just please continue. So, but that stemmed from this whole thing, and that just made me think of it. Sorry to go off on that tangent.
No, that's... Well, and you think about how could they... And nothing is happening to these people hitting the button. So, could you imagine realizing how far deep you are?
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that if you walked away, you'd get killed.
Right.
By the Nazis. So I can understand not, just wanting to continue to follow orders, but also at the same time, if you're that high up.
Right.
You got there for a reason.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like you are one of the higher ups for a reason, because you are monstrous. Like you're not a civilian. You're not like an entry level soldier.
No.
Or even like a captain in the military or a higher rank. You're like at the top.
And yeah, that first mentality I was thinking for like lower rank, where you're like, oh no, mm-hmm. we're doing bad things. But even they would get shot if they tried to leave. Mm-hmm. So, and they did do mental tests on all the defendants, and they were found to be within their right mind. So,
right. So they couldn't claim insanity either.
No, they could not. What they also could not claim is that they could not be prosecuted under international law for actions they took as officials of a sovereign power.
Okay. So they were saying that they could only be, like the prisoners were saying they could only be tried under the laws of Germany, or was that
They couldn't say that they couldn't be prosecuted under international law because they were a sovereign power.
Like, yeah, they weren't subject to the overarching committee's governance.
They couldn't say, I don't follow your rules because I'm over here.
And I should be tried under the laws of my own sovereign nation.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah.
Because the Third Reich would be like, good job. You did exactly what we wanted, you know?
Wow, thanks, buddy. So, defining the crimes of what was going to be tried for.
Mm-hmm.
The Nuremberg Charter gave the IMT authority to, quote, to try and punish persons who, acting in the interest of the European Axis countries, whether as individuals or as members of an organization. So it didn't matter if you were independent or part of an organization, you would be tried either way. But it was based on 3 main ones, and then they added things as necessary.
Yeah.
So crimes against peace, which included planning, preparing, initiating, and waging a war of aggression, as well as conspiring to commit any of those acts.
Mm-hmm.
War crimes, so violations of the law or customs of war, including murder, ill treatment, and deportation to slave labor of civilians, murder and ill treatment of prisoners of war, and killing of hostages, as well as plunder and wanton destruction.
Yeah, that's pretty much, that sums up a lot of what the Nazis did.
Yeah. A lot of people pleaded guilty to the war crimes.
Yeah.
And crimes against humanity. And every time I read crimes, I read cards. And I'm like, no, not cards against humanity. Crimes against humanity.
Those cannot be more different.
So different. I think my brain was wanting a funny haha game.
Yeah,
but
your brain's like, I refuse to acknowledge crimes against humanity.
Nope, it's cards. It's cards. So this is defined as murder, extermination, enslavement, deportation, or inhumane treatment of civilians, and persecution on political, racial, or religious grounds. And the crimes against peace and crimes against humanity had never been defined as punishable offenses under international law before. And war crimes absolutely had, but the other two had not. Those were newbies. And the charter also authorized the IMT to determine whether a defendant who committed crimes acted as a member of an organization, in which case the IMT could declare that the organization was a criminal organization. So the IMT could be like, oh, you're part of the, let's just say Nazi Party or the Third Reich. The Third Reich also participated in all of those things. The Third Reich is now labeled a criminal organization.
Okay.
Under international law.
Makes sense.
It absolutely does. So it's like a 12-step program to get this thing off the ground. But the Nuremberg Charter defined and gave the IMT the power to do this. Now, we're off to doing it.
Okay.
This entire time, by the end of, this is at this point after Japan has surrendered. So officially the end of World War II. The indictment of the top 24 Nazi government officials and organizations was filed October 18th of 1945. 6 months after Hitler died was the first official indictment. That's so fast.
Yeah.
Think about it. They had to gather all the evidence.
Right. In a completely when the world is in shambles, basically.
Yeah. And the Nazis were working around the clock to destroy all their documents because, of course, they wrote everything down.
Yeah. They were notoriously, I mean, they're German. They document everything.
Yes. Also, it reminded me a lot, and I hate to draw conclusions between Nixon and Nazi, but this is the only time I'll do it. Nixon documented everything he did because he thought he was the greatest thing ever. And he wanted to write his memoir, so he wanted to remember everything.
Right.
The Nazis, it almost feels like the same mentality where it's like, we're going to take over the world and we want to have documentation as to how we did it.
Right. They want it for there's a word that's like, I can't think of it. It's, they're documenting it for,
it's like, are you trying to say like their personal,
hang on,
to boost their own ego kind of thing?
There's a specific word I'm trying to think of. It's not clemency. It's posterity.
Yeah.
Documenting for posterity.
Yeah. That's pretty much what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
Also, I will say they do have some crazy smart scientists. So they were building a lot of shit back then.
Yeah.
So lots of schematics.
Yes.
Anyway. So, like I said, October 18th of 1945 was the first indictment of 24 Nazi government officials. And this was the original IMT Nuremberg trial. This is like the big one. And we have as prosecutors, we have one from each of the four main countries. We have Robert H. Jackson of the United States, Sir Hartley Shawcross of Great Britain. It's a very British name. I love it.
It's a very British name.
Francois de Menthon of France, who would later be replaced by Auguste Champetier de Ribes? R-I-B-E-S. However you say that in French. Sorry.
Don't ask me.
I feel like I got most of it, though. And Roman A. Rudenko from the Soviet Union. Those were our prosecutors.
Okay.
And we've got Lord Justice Geoffrey Lawrence of Great Britain served as the court's presiding judge. And the tribunals also had judges from the other countries as well. So we have Francis Biddle from the United States, Henry Donadieu de Vabrez from France, and Iona Nikitchenko from the USSR. So the trial began November 20th of 1945. Still just 2 freaking months after Japan surrendered. The timeline of this is wild to me.
Yeah, they were on it.
Yeah. So I gotta read this to you, but I gotta take a sip of tea first.
Okay.
The U.S. Chief Prosecutor Robert H. Jackson, which we need to cover an entire episode on him, guys.
Okay.
It's coming. He's an interesting guy. Don't come at me that we're not talking about him today. His opening statement for the IMT was, "The privilege of opening the first trial in history for crimes against the peace of the world imposes a grave responsibility. The wrongs in which we seek to condemn and punish have been so calculated, so malignant, and so devastating that civilization cannot tolerate their being ignored because it cannot survive their being repeated."
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn. It gave me chills when I heard it.
Yeah, that's... Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. The IMT tried the defendants on the 3 crimes that we stated earlier, and also a 4th charge of conspiracy to commit any of those 3 crimes. And it also looked at whether the Nazi Party or the German state or military were also criminal organizations. So Robert Ley, who was one of the defendants, committed suicide the day before the trial.
Oh, wow.
Which, honestly, difficult to do. They were literally, like, they had a guard per cell after he committed suicide. And they had, after this happened, they had to sleep with their arms over the blankets, only on their backs.
Right.
With the lights on.
Because I don't remember which one it was, but someone, like, got cyanide pills smuggled in with, like, their hair pomade. And that's how he killed himself.
That was...
was it...
Gorig. It was Gorig.
Yeah.
And... Yeah. He claimed he had it for, like, a long time. So one of the guards had snuck it in, was sneaking things into him. Because apparently he was a very charismatic guy, which is scary.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we'll talk about him. He was the worst. I wish we could get more into him during the trial, but we just can't.
Yeah.
And they were also afraid that more Nazis would, like, break them out of prison. So they were being super cautious.
Understandable.
It took a day and a half to read the indictments.
Oh, my God.
And they had to respond to the indictments. And I think all of them just said not guilty.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. They were all like, not guilty. And they tried to play dumb. One guy literally pretended to have lost his whole memory. But then came clean later.
The audacity? Yeah. I don't even know if that's the right word. Like the whole world knows. Like, you can't just hide. Like, you killed millions of people. What? They're like, oh, was not me.
They were like, we didn't know this was happening. Buddy, yes, you did. So, obviously, they weren't going to come clean. So, the prosecutors changed their tactics and went to just using documents.
Yeah, that's what you have to do.
And only used witnesses when it came to, like, survivors of the concentration camps and
oh God,
things of that nature. Oh, it gets worse.
No, and I'm just thinking, like, it's so shortly after, like, they were freed, too. So I'm sure a lot of these people, like, when they came to testify, still looked like they had been in concentration camps, you know? Like,
yeah. Oh.
I know a lot of people had to shave their hair, but a lot lost hair because they had no nutrition. Yeah. It was, oh my God, this is awful.
So, the prosecutor said that they were going to be guilty by their own words because they were able to find so much documentation with signatures and whole letters and everything that, I mean, they didn't have Photoshop back then. You couldn't, that's your signature, my dude.
Right.
What? So, over the next year, this one would take about a year, the world learned about the Nazis' actions. They had screenings of films that were made and they were documentary films. I don't want you to think it's like a movie, but they were documentation of concentration camps. They played the footage in the courtroom. And they said that the defendants looked kind of shooketh. Not at their actions, but what this meant to them being acquitted.
Their defense.
Yeah, they were like...
Their defense just completely went out the window. And, like,
yeah.
Emily and I we've both been to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., and they still have footage and pictures and everything from the concentration camps, and it is
the things horrific. That get me, the thing that I can't even think about is the pile of shoes.
Oh, the shoes. I was just thinking that.
The shoes, I mean, because those were on people's feet. Ugh. And then never were again.
Ugh.
Like the... Woo! Okay, let's go to verdicts.
Yeah.
Verdicts.
Ooh.
Ended on October the 1st of 1946, so it took just shy of a year. The IMT acquitted 3 defendants.
Really?
Convicted the other 19. Of those 19, 12 were sentenced to death. 3 defendants were sentenced to life imprisonment, and the other 4 were sentenced to prison time ranging from 10 to 20 years.
Okay.
So, and we're talking, I think there was like a newspaper guy that like wrote propaganda for a newspaper in this group. So it wasn't always just like Hitler's right hands.
Right.
So don't be too upset that 3 were acquitted.
Okay. I was just wondering like what, like who they were
right.
and like why they were acquitted, but that
right.
makes sense.
If we weren't almost an hour in and just on trial number 1, I would have gotten more into it. Again, broad strokes, guys.
Right.
So on October 16th, just 15 days, the executions were carried out by hanging in the gymnasium at the courthouse.
Like an athletic gymnasium?
Yeah, the same dudes that were being hung at the time were playing basketball just days before. They were like in a gym. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if maybe it's because it was enclosed. The only thing I could think of is they weren't allowing... It's a big open
enclosed space.
Right. And they weren't allowing video footage in the courtroom, so maybe they wanted to have a private place.
Yeah. I think it's just it's hard for my brain to connect like a gym, which is like a happy like place where you do sports and play, and then like the deaths of some of the most horrific people in the last 100 years.
Yeah, they definitely they got hung by the basketball goals. Like it was a weird juxtaposition there.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Weird.
Okay.
So in 1947, the remaining prisoners of this trial were sent to the Spandau prison in Berlin. And the IMT also found during these trials some of these organizations to be criminal organizations. So the leadership core of the Nazi Party, the Gestapo, or Secret State Police, the SD, so this is basically the Nazis' secret service, and the SS are all they are all considered by international law criminal organizations.
Right.
And the IMT limited the definition of crimes against humanity to acts committed during the war. So anything that happened prior to the war was not included.
Yeah. I mean,
you got to set boundaries somewhere, I guess.
I understand. And it's really horrible, but a lot of what the Nazis did before the war was inflicted on their own people.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2 months later, the Nuremberg Principles was recognized. So the United Nations General Assembly recognized these principles, recognized the judgment and the Nuremberg Charter as binding international law. So the UN were like, this is good. Mm-hmm. This is now binding. And the UN's International Law Commission defined these principles as a guide to enforce this international criminal law. So now this is precedent. And the key principles are crimes against peace, war crimes, and crimes against humanity are offenses under international law. Any individual, even a government leader who commits an international crime may be held legally accountable. Punishment for international crime should be determined through a fair trial based upon the facts and the law. And a perpetrator of an international crime who acted in obedience to orders from a superior still bears legal responsibility for the crime. So what we stated earlier.
Right.
And just a little sidebar, it still continues to be used today. Mm-hmm.
Isn't it like the Geneva Convention or something like that?
I think the Geneva Convention was before the war.
Maybe it was after World War I. They were like, hey, no more trying to take over the world.
Right.
I'm going to Google it really fast.
Yeah, do that.
But I was wondering if... Oh, okay, it's Geneva Conventions... this is Wikipedia. Is a term used to collectively refer to the 4 Geneva Conventions of 1949, which form the core of international humanitarian law. So the Geneva Conventions were after the Nuremberg Trials.
Okay, got it.
But it was because of the aftermath of World War II.
Got it.
So I guess...
Got it. I must have got it mixed up.
And there's 4 of them.
Okay.
All addressing like different things. The first one is sick and wounded field soldiers. The second one is sick and wounded sailors. The third one is the treatment of prisoners of war. And the fourth one is about the treatment of civilians.
Okay. So that is based off of this.
That's what it seems like.
Essentially. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the in 1948, they're still expanding. Sorry, let me back up. They're still expanding on these laws. So, for example, in 1948, they recognized genocide as an international crime.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah, seriously. Additional offenses, torture, sexual violence, have been added to the list. It continues to grow as necessary.
As they're like, oh yeah, I'm sure medical experiments is on there too, because the Nazis love doing medical experiments on human.
Awful.
Yeah.
So that the big one's out of the way now. We still have a shit ton of Nazis to try.
Right.
So they broke it up into 12 more proceedings. And these happened between 1946 and 1949. I'm not going to tell you the dates of every single one of them because that would just be confusing, honestly. Mm-hmm. This covered specific sectors of the Nazi regime. And General Telford Taylor was appointed as chief prosecutor for these. I think that some of them switched with different prosecutors. I think Telford Taylor was like one of the main guys.
Okay.
And these were focused on second tier Nazis, not the bigwigs.
Okay.
In total, we'll see 185 defendants,
177
of those would stand trial. We would see only 24 death sentences, 20 life sentences, and another 98 other terms of imprisonment, with 35 acquittals.
Okay.
So, let's get into case number 1, the medical case. What Morgan was just talking about, medical experiments on prisoners. So, these proceedings were against 23 leading German physicians. I will not go into detail.
Yeah.
But Taylor's opening, you're welcome. I didn't want to do it either. So, Taylor's opening statement said, the defendants in this case are charged with murders, tortures, and other atrocities committed in the name of medical science. The victims of these crimes are numbered in the hundreds of thousands. A handful only are alive, or a handful are still alive. A few of the survivors will appear in this courtroom, but most of these miserable victims were slaughtered outright or died in the course of the tortures to which they were subjected. For the most part, they are nameless dead. To their murderers, these wretched people were not individuals at all. They came in wholesale lots and were treated worse than animals.
That makes me want to bawl my eyes out.
I know.
Like, I'm fighting the urge to just burst into tears right now.
After almost 140 days of proceedings, including testimony of 85 witnesses, the submission of almost 1,500 documents, they announced their verdict of being 16 of the doctors were found guilty, 7 of whom were sentenced to death, and they would go on to be executed on June the 2nd of 1948. Case number 2, the Milch case. So this was Air Force officials.
Okay.
So war crimes case of the former Field Marshal Erhard Milch. And this was really about the participation in the planning and execution of war crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Namely, subjection of POWs and foreign nationals to murder, cruel treatment, and forced labor. Crimes against humanity, kind of a few other things. They declared Milch guilty of counts of the first one, the participation in planning of war crimes and crimes against humanity. And he was sentenced to life in prison, but we're going to talk about it. He only served 15 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I don't want to give it away, but a lot of these get shortened at the end. You're not going to be happy. So, case number 3, the Justice case. So this is Nazi jurist who enforced racist laws.
Okay.
So, of 16 defendants indicted, 9 were officials of the Reich Ministry of Justice, while the others were members of the People's and Special Courts. 10 of the defendants were found guilty, 4 were acquitted. 2 defendants were not included in the judgment because one passed away before the trial even began, and the other was declared too sick to attend the trial.
Okay.
So 4 of the guilty defendants got prison for life, sentenced to life in prison, and 6 to terms ranging 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
And they did not do, I guess, they enforced racist laws, but I'm like, 5 to 10 years? They were just jurors, okay? Number 4, the Pole case. And this was administration of concentration camps. So this was the trial of Oswald Pohl, Pohl, and the WVHA, or the words that I'm not even going to try to say.
Okay.
But translated, the Economic and Administrative Main Office. That's what it is translated. Roll with it, y'all. So there were 18 defendants and all members of the WVHA. So it's 18 total, guys. I said that kind of confusing. 3 of the defendants were acquitted. The rest were found guilty. 4 of the guilty were sentenced to death, 3 to life in prison, and 8 ranging from 10, 20, or 25 years.
Okay.
And the head of the Economic and Administrative Main Office, Oswald Pohl, was executed on June the 8th of 1951.
Okay.
Case number 5, the Flick case. And this is industrialists. So case number 5 and case number 6 are very similar, but they cover 2 different industries. So for the Flick case, we've got 6 leading officials in the Flick concern, which was a large group of industrial enterprises that included coal and iron and steel plants, subsidiaries. They were tried on slave labor, stealing private resources, prisoner of war labor, destroying property that came into German hands, things of that nature. And also the case number 6, the IG Farben case, pretty much the same thing, just a different industrial group. There were 24 defendants on that one. So for the Flick case, we're seeing 3 of those were acquitted. Flick was sent to 7 years in prison, and then another 5 years, and then another 2.5 years. With case number 6, the IG Farben case, 10 of the defendants were acquitted completely, 10 out of 24. The rest were guilty on varying accounts, and prison terms range from 1.5 to 8 years in prison, including time already served.
Okay.
Case number 7, the hostage case. So this is commanders who took hostages.
All right.
That one's pretty straightforward. So we're looking at participation in the murder of hundreds of thousands of civilians in Greece, Yugoslavia, and Albania, including plundering and looting of public property, orders commanding that surrendered troops be executed, murder, torture, imprisonment, forced labor, deportation, slave labor. It started with 12 defendants, ended with 10. One was too ill, again, and one committed suicide before the trial. 2 of the guilty defendants got life in prison, and the other 6, they ranged 7 to 20 years in prison.
Okay.
Case number 8, the Russia case, RUSHA, that's an acronym, is race and settlement policies and kidnapping. So,
jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, so the Russia is, again, short for a German word I'm not going to try. So, translated, Main Race and Resettlement Office. So, we've got 14 defendants there. These people implemented the racial programs of the Third Reich. All 3 of the crimes against humanity, war crimes, and also members of criminal organizations, and also the kidnapping of racially valuable children for the Aryanization, and the forcible evacuation of foreign nationals from their homes in favor of German or ethnic Germans to live there instead. It found 8 defendants guilty on all accounts, 5 guilty only of membership in a criminal organization, and 1 not guilty at all. Yep. 1 was sentenced to life in prison, 7 to terms between 10 and 25 years, and 5 time already served.
Okay.
All right. Case number 9. The Einsatzgruppen case. Einsatzgruppen. I hope I did that right. The killing squads.
Oh, God.
Yeah. We've got 24 defendants here. They were a special task of the SS and police, and they conducted mass shootings of Jews, communists, and a lot of others in territory that was seized from the Soviet Union. They murdered between 723,000 to 1 million as part of a systematic program of genocide. So I could see why the Soviet Union was so pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not even like in battle. That's not even like in active combat. That's murder.
Yeah, that's just murder. That's just genocide. That is...
Extermination.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So, of the 24 defendants, each one was charged with committing the crimes. 14 defendants were sentenced to death, 2 were sentenced to life terms, and 5 sentenced ranged 10 to 20 years. I think this is the only one where they were all charged.
Okay.
The Krupp case is number 10, and this is another industrialist supporting war efforts. There were 12 defendants on this case, all officials of the Krupp industrial concern, and basically same as the others, slave labor, plundering, that. 1 man was acquitted, and the other 11 defendants received prison terms from 2 to 12 years.
I feel like that's not a lot for utilizing slave labor. You know, just my opinion, I guess.
I agree. It's the ending's really gonna piss you off.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. So, case number 11. We're almost to the end, guys. The ministries case. So these are high-ranking diplomats and officials. We've got 21 defendants, including 3 Reich ministers, as well as state secretaries and members of the Nazi Party hierarchy. Same old, war crimes, conspiracy, crimes against humanity, etc. is what we're looking at. It acquitted 2 defendants, found the rest guilty of at least 1 charge each. Convicted defendants received 4 to 25 years, and 1 was sentenced to time served.
Okay. Well, if like the lowest end was 4 years, then
yeah.
Okay.
And at this point, they were already like 3 years in.
Right.
So, yeah. So, case number 12, the High Command case. This is military leadership.
Oh, jeez.
14 defendants, formerly all leading command or staff officers in the German armed forces. War crimes, poor treatment of POW, crimes against humanity, etc. They're all kind of the same. One man, Johannes Blaskowitz, committed suicide on the first day of the trial. The other 13 defendants made it the whole way. 2 defendants were sentenced to prison for life, and the other 9 received prison terms ranging from 3 to 20 years.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. So, that's the end of it, right? No. Not quite.
Your camera just did a dramatic zoom on your face during that. Like you did your little head nod and you went, no, and the camera went
I swear, we need to start video recording this. So, like we mentioned earlier, Project Paperclip was a thing.
Yes.
And it kind of started earlier than you think, because the official objective was to bring all these German experts into the United States for 6 months to a year to help America win the war against Japan. But this was after, Hitler was gone. But then in August, we won anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, well, we'll just continue the program. I won't go too deep, but we were taking German scientists over.
Yeah. Emileigh and I have talked about potentially covering the Manhattan Project on a bonus episode, because we don't live far away from Oak Ridge, where
we live concerningly close. To a few nuclear places.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of nuclear plants in Tennessee.
It's scary. Please don't blow up. So, now to the part that you're not gonna like.
Okay.
Because the American justice system isn't always great. A lot of them were granted clemency and parole. 97 of the 142 Germans that were convicted in the trials regained their freedom. Sometimes decades early. They all walked free by 1958. 58, guys. That is, 13 years after the freaking war?
Yeah, some of them only served a 10-year sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Why were they using the American justice system as a foundation for all these things? I acknowledge the similarities between this international government force and the American justice system, but why did they use the American justice system? They weren't even in the United States. This doesn't even make sense. Why were these bastards granted clemency? What the fuck?
Because the High Commissioner for Occupied Germany, who was John J. Emileigh at the time, and his successors decided that the German war criminals were entitled to all that the American law offered.
But who granted them clemency in the first place?
Emileigh.
How could
he was allowed to?
How? What? Was he an American that was the German High Commissioner?
I think so. Emileigh sounds very American.
It sounds but why would, I have so many questions, Emileigh. How could he be in a position of power to even grant them clemency in the first place? Why? Was he a fucking Nazi himself? Probably,
no.
Honestly. But what the fuck?
He was American lawyer, diplomat, banker, and high-ranking bureaucrat.
Is he a Nazi sympathizer?
He served as an assistant secretary of war during World War II. I don't know. They said something about, like, rehabilitating them back into... No.
These people committed the most horrific crimes in history. What do you mean rehabilitation?
Yeah.
After maybe 10 years. Like, what?
Let me read real quick. I'm like skimming.
Mm-hmm.
Well, McCloy's family was receiving death threats. 7 men were executed in 51. I don't know. The office was terminated in 1955. The position itself. It's not really giving me a good reason. Which I don't feel like there is a good reason. These people killed millions of people. I mean, I don't know what the...
It varies. I think the high estimations are like 20 million people.
Okay, how many people just died in World War II overall? 70 to 85 million.
Oh, jeez.
Civilian deaths, 50 to 55 million. 3% of the world's population in 1940 died.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh God, that makes my whole body hurt.
That's not even a fathomable number in my brain.
It's not. Like
I can't imagine what 55 million people would look like. The Soviet Union had 24 million total deaths.
Tennessee has a population of a little over 7 million.
So we're talking 6 Tennessees?
California is the most populous U.S. state, and it has 39.5 million.
So we'll just knock out all of California and all of Tennessee, and we're still not even there.
I mean, I think the U.S. has a population of 300 million. So...
Holy shit. We've wiped out the entire Midwest.
Yeah.
Like, all the states combined is probably that much.
Ugh.
And that's just civilian deaths.
Right.
There's another 21 to 25 million of military deaths. And these people got 10 years. How many did I say? 20-something were put to death? Oh, that pisses me off. It doesn't sit right.
No, I don't understand the logic. Like, I mean, just think of, the U.S. has one of the, probably the highest rate of imprisonment in the world. Like, people who commit, nonviolent crimes get more prison time than these monsters.
Yeah?
In the United States. They don't get clemency.
And they didn't kill millions of people. Just because they were different. Different than them. That's, I can't even.
It makes me sick.
My God. Well, it needed to be talked about, damn it, I guess.
I have questions. I just want to talk. I have some questions I want to ask him.
Well, he died in 1989. So you'll have to get a Ouija board, I think.
No thanks.
No thanks, yeah. That's just asking for trouble.
Yeah, I'm not gonna even try.
No. All right, well, should we do socials?
That's it? That's the end?
That's the end.
Oh my God.
Okay. I guess I can round it out better than that. That's the trials. We are still using it as a precedence today, even if it worked and it didn't work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, a good 20-something of them were put to death. Mm-hmm. I have complicated feelings about the death sentence, but I feel like in this case, you know,
I don't feel bad about it.
I don't feel bad for sure. But I mean, it doesn't bring back the millions of people they hurt. At least they can't hurt anyone else.
Yeah.
It's senseless.
I'm glad you covered this because I didn't know a lot about the Nuremberg trials.
Yeah. Me either. See, Nick said, he was like, well, why'd you cover the Nuremberg trials? They've been covered to death. I'm like, where?
Yeah. Like, I've heard about them. I knew they happened, but I didn't know there were 13 separate trials. Like, I just imagine, like, every single Nazi official going into one room, and they're all like, you're all guilty. And then that was the end. Like, I didn't know it was 13 based on, like, the type of trial that was happening. And, like,
yeah. And it makes sense.
Divisions.
I mean, why wouldn't you cut it up like that? That would make it easier.
Right. No, it makes sense because, like, the medical monsters, like, didn't commit the same crimes as, like, the industrialists, you know? Like, it makes sense to...
But they all did shit-ass crimes.
They did all do shit-ass crimes.
Like, even the people just... Like, you would think, oh, they're just building the airplanes. Yeah, with slave labor.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Awful.
Your computer just did another zoom in while you were sat back with your hands on your head. I'm glad there's that little bit of levity
so dramatic.
In this mess. Yeah, let's do socials.
Yeah, and then we can move on and talk about hopefully something more lighthearted next week.
It's a lot more lighthearted.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. Oh, man, I got to relive this again to edit it. Whew.
I don't envy you.
That's okay. You can find us on Facebook.
Ill-Equipped History Podcast Group and Page.
Instagram.
At Ill-Equipped History.
TikTok.
At Ill-Equipped History.
Gmail.
ill-equippedhistory@gmail.com.
And Patreon.
Patreon.com/ill-equippedhistory. Please consider signing up for our monthly bonus episodes and stickers that you get and shout outs. We love our bonus episodes and we want you to love them too. We just covered John Lennon and his murderer. That was interesting.
January is a dark month, I guess, guys.
I guess so.
Sorry.
It's the month of messy depressy.
Yeah. What was last week's episode?
Oh, it was Edmund, Hillary, and Tenzing Norgay. So that was nice.
Right. Oh, that was good. That was good. Yeah. Morgan's bringing it up.
I guess so.
The depressy ones were my fault. Damn.
We switched roles, Emily.
Oh, no. I'm going to have to go, find a funny one.
Yeah.
For
we haven't had, a real
week.
Funny one in a long time.
Yeah. Well, most of history is really kind of a bummer.
It really is. It's hard to find, comical stories. We try to make it fun when we can, but...
Yeah. We can only do so much.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think we have to tell you. We don't have any advice for you. Just be a good person.
Yeah, just please just understand that, I don't know. Nazi bad.
Yeah, Nazis are bad. I think that's a pretty objective fact.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.